Good morning, Virgo. So let me start this by saying something no other horoscope account will ever tell you, Virgo. This isn't the kind of fluffy, feel-good content that skims the surface of your situation and leaves you scrolling 10 seconds later. This is the raw, unvarnished, 100% accurate breakdown of what's been unfolding behind the scenes with the person who once looked you dead in the eye and turned you away. You've spent weeks, maybe even months, wondering if they ever thought about you after they walked out. You've had those quiet 2 a.m. moments where you replayed every single line of that rejection, picking apart every tiny detail to figure out what you did wrong, what you could have changed, what part of you was not enough for them. You've wasted so much mental energy on overanalyzing their tone, their body language, the offhand comment they made right before they shut you down, that you almost forgot the most important truth of all. None of that rejection was ever about you. It was never a judgment of your worth. It was a reflection of their own empty, unhealed, terrified self. And right now, they are drowning in the consequences of that choice, in a regret so deep and so heavy, it's starting to rewrite every single memory they ever had of you. Let's go back to the exact day they rejected you, because that's where the whole story starts. They didn't make that call in a split second. They spent 3 whole days overthinking it, pacing around their apartment, ignoring texts from their friends, replaying every single interaction you two ever had on loop in their head. At first, they told themselves they were doing the right thing. They kept listing off all the little stupid, meaningless reasons you weren't a match for them. You were too honest. You called them out when they lied about being fine, when they were clearly hurting. You didn't play those stupid little mind games that every other person they dated let them get away with. You didn't beg for their attention when they went radio silent for 3 days. You didn't let them half-ass the connection and get away with it. They told all their friends that you were too much work, that you wanted too much too fast, that they needed someone easier, someone who wouldn't challenge them, someone who would let them stay in their comfortable, closed-off bubble without ever having to confront the parts of themselves they hated. And their friends, the same people who never even took the time to get to know you, nodded along and agreed. They told them they were smart for walking away, that they didn't owe anyone that level of effort, that they should prioritize their own peace. So they worked up the courage to meet you that day, and they said all those cruel, cold, carefully rehearsed lines to your face. They told you you were amazing, but they just weren't ready for something serious. They told you you deserved someone who could give you the whole unbroken version of themselves, and they couldn't do that right now. They made it sound like they were doing you a favor, like they were the selfless, reasonable one, and you were the overeager, naive one who was asking for too much too soon. And when you didn't blow up, when you didn't beg them to stay, when you didn't cry and make a scene, when you just nodded, said, "I understand," turned around and walked away without looking back, that was the first tiny crack in their perfect little plan. They stood there on that sidewalk for 10 minutes after you left, completely frozen, and they felt this weird, hollow feeling in their chest that they couldn't name. They expected you to fight. They expected you to chase them, to send 10 follow-up texts, to show up at their door a few days later and tell them you'd wait for them, that you'd be patient, that you'd meet them halfway, no matter how slow they wanted to go. They were fully ready to let you do that too. They were ready to string you along for months to keep you on the back burner as a backup option while they went out and chased all those shallow, meaningless flings they thought they wanted. But you didn't do any of that. You didn't text them for 3 days, then a week, then a month. You didn't post passive-aggressive stories on your Instagram to make them feel guilty. You didn't ask mutual friends to pass along messages. You didn't even block them, which is the part that confused them the most. You just erased them from your life, completely and quietly, with zero drama. And that's the moment the regret started to creep in, not the big, dramatic, screaming regret you see in movies. The quiet, slow-burning kind that seeps through the cracks of their daily life, one tiny moment at a time. It started with small, stupid little things. They'd be at the grocery store and they'd pass the aisle with your favorite snack, the one you rambled to them about for 20 minutes on your third date, and they'd reach for it out of habit before they remembered you weren't in their life anymore. They'd turn on the radio in their car, and that one song you played on full volume when you drove them to the beach would come on, and they'd realize they didn't even skip it. They just sat there in the silence, listening to every single lyric, and for the first time they actually paid attention to the words, and they realized every single line was about you. Then they started noticing all the empty spaces you left behind. Their apartment felt too quiet now. No one was there to leave their mug on the counter. No one was there to laugh at their terrible jokes, even when they weren't funny. No one was there to stay up with them until 3 a.m., helping them fix their broken laptop when they had a work deadline the next day. All the people they thought they wanted to date, they were boring. They didn't remember their coffee order. They didn't care that their mom's birthday was coming up. They didn't call them out when they were being an asshole to their friends. They just went along with everything they said. No questions asked, no depth, no real connection. Every single one of those flings fell flat. Every single date ended with them driving home alone, feeling emptier than they did before they went out. And slowly, day by day, they started to realize the truth. You weren't the problem. They were. They were the one who was too scared to let someone see all the messy, broken parts of them. They were the one who was too selfish to put in the work to build something real. They were the one who threw away the only person who ever loved them exactly as they were, flaws and all, and they didn't even realize how rare that was until it was gone. Now, months later, that regret isn't just a feeling anymore. It's a habit. It's a routine they can't break. They wake up every morning and the first thing they do is reach for their phone, not to check their work emails, not to scroll through the news, but to pull up your profile. They scroll through every single one of your new posts, every story, every photo, every caption, and they analyze every single detail like it's a secret code they have to crack. They notice the new haircut you got. They notice the new friend you're hanging out with in the background of that group photo. They notice the way you're smiling wider than you ever did when you were with them. They notice that you're posting about all the goals you told them you wanted to achieve, the ones they laughed off and called unrealistic when you first told them, and you did it. You hit that promotion at work. You took that trip to the national park you've been dreaming of since you were a kid. You started that little side business you rambled about over dinner that one night. You're not just doing fine without them. You're thriving. You're better than you ever were when you were wasting energy trying to make them see your worth. And that's the part that's eating them alive. They thought rejecting you would make them feel powerful. They thought they'd walk away feeling like they dodged a bullet. Instead, they feel small, stupid, like they just threw away a winning lottery ticket and they can't find it anywhere, no matter how hard they dig through the trash. They have this whole little ritual now. Every single night before they go to bed, they sit on their couch, lights off, and they pull up your old text thread. They read every single message you ever sent them From the very first, hey, I saw this meme that made me think of you, to the last message they sent you, the one where they told you they couldn't be what you needed. They reread all the little silly, meaningless moments you shared. The time you texted them at 2 a.m. because you saw a raccoon in your backyard and you thought it was the cutest thing you'd ever seen. The time you sent them a photo of your new plant and you named it after their favorite movie character. The time you stayed up with them when their grandma was in the hospital and you sent them 100 little silly memes to make them smile even when they were crying. They read all of that and they just sit there staring at the screen and they can't believe they ever let you go. They can't believe they were so stupid that they chose a life of empty, meaningless one-night stands over the only person who ever made them feel seen. They've also started talking to mutual friends about you, but they try to play it off like it's just casual curiosity. They'll ask, oh, how's Virgo doing these days? In the middle of a group hangout, like it's just a passing question, but they hang on every single word their friend says about you, like it's the most important information they've ever heard. They get jealous when their friend tells them you went to a party last weekend and you had the time of your life. They get anxious when their friend mentions that you've been seeing someone new, that there's a new person in your life who's actually putting in the effort to treat you right. They don't even realize how pathetic they look, sitting there begging for crumbs of information about a person they threw away like they were nothing. Their friends have started to notice too. Their friends have told them multiple times that they messed up, that you were the best thing that ever happened to them, that they should reach out and apologize, but they can't. They're too scared. Because they know you're not the same person who would have forgiven them 3 months ago. They know you're done. They know if they text you right now, you won't reply. Or worse, you'll reply with that one short, polite, cold line that says, thanks, I appreciate it, but I've moved on. And that will be the final, official confirmation that they lost you forever. And they don't think they can survive that. But that doesn't stop them from drafting the apology text over and over and over again. They have 47 different versions of it saved in their notes app. Some of them are short and casual, like, hey, hope you've been doing well lately. I've been thinking about you a lot. Some of them are long, messy, 10-paragraph essays where they pour out every single feeling they've been hiding for months, where they admit every single mistake they made, where they beg you for a second chance. They type them out, they read them over 10 times, they stare at the send button for 20 minutes, and then they delete the whole thing every single time because they know it's too late, because they know they don't deserve you, because they know even if you did give them a second chance, they'd just mess it up again. They're still the same person who was too scared to commit, too selfish to put in the work, too broken to love you the way you deserve to be loved. They're not chasing you because they've grown. They're chasing you because no one else is giving them the energy you gave them. Every new person they date falls short. No one listens to them the way you did. No one remembers all the tiny, stupid little details about their life that you remembered. No one challenges them to be a better version of themselves the way you did. They thought they wanted someone easy, someone who would never ask anything of them. But now they're bored, they're empty, they're lonely, and they miss the real, raw, unfiltered connection you two had. They miss being seen, and they know they'll never find that with anyone else. They also have this terrible habit now where they drive past your house at least once a week. They don't get out of the car. They don't text you to tell you they're there. They just drive slowly down your street and they look at your front porch and they see if your car is parked in the driveway and they wonder what you're doing inside. Are you watching that show you used to tell them about? Are you making that pasta recipe you spent 3 hours perfecting? Are you sitting on your couch laughing with your friends? They sit there in their car for 10 minutes and they think about all the times they showed up at your door unannounced and you'd smile and pull them inside without even asking questions. They think about how warm your apartment always smelled, like vanilla candles and fresh coffee. They think about how you'd wrap a blanket around them when they were cold, even before they ask. And then they drive away because they know they don't have the right to show up at your door anymore. They know you wouldn't let them in. They know you'd look at them and you'd be calm and you'd tell them it's time to leave and they'd have nothing to say to defend themselves. The worst part of all of this, the part they never tell anyone, is that they're starting to forget the small, specific details about you, not the big, obvious things. They still remember your birthday, your favorite color, the way you take your coffee, but they're starting to forget the exact sound of your laugh, not the idea of it, the actual physical sound. They can remember the way your eyes crinkled at the corners when you laughed, the way you'd cover your mouth with your hand when you got too loud, but the specific pitch, the rhythm of it, is fading. And trying to hold on to it is like trying to catch smoke. The harder they try to remember, the faster it slips away. They're starting to forget the exact way your voice sounded when you whispered their name late at night. They're starting to forget the exact texture of your sweater, the one you always wore when it was cold outside. They're losing the small sensory parts of you that made you feel real, and that loss feels more final than any goodbye because it means you're not just gone from their present. You're starting to disappear from their past too, and they are completely powerless to stop it. Now, let's talk about you, Virgo, because all of this regret, all of this pain, all of this chaos they're going through, none of it is your responsibility to fix. You don't owe them a reply. You don't owe them a second chance. You don't even owe them 10 seconds of your time. You did the right thing when you walked away. You didn't beg. You didn't degrade yourself. You didn't let them make you feel like you were the problem. Their choice to reject you was never a judgment of your worth. It was a reflection of their own fear, their own immaturity, their own inability to love someone the way they deserve to be loved. You weren't too much. You were never too much. You were just too much for someone who was too small to handle how good, how loyal, how loving you are. And the peace you've built since you walked away, that's the greatest revenge you could ever get. You didn't waste months being angry, plotting to make them hurt the way they hurt you. You just focused on yourself. You healed, you grew, you built a life that's so full, so bright, so full of joy that you barely even think about them anymore. Sometimes you'll see their name pop up on your story views and you'll feel that tiny little flicker of recognition, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't make you spiral. You just shrug and you go back to living your life. That's the thing they can't stand the most. They thought you'd be broken without them. They thought you'd be stuck, pining after them, waiting for them to come back. But you're not. You're free. You're happier than you've ever been. And they're the ones stuck in the past, replaying all their mistakes over and over again, trapped in a loop of regret they can never escape. They will never be able to give you what you actually deserve. Even if they do work up the courage to send that apology text, even if they show up at your door begging for a second chance, they're still the same person who looked you dead in the eye and decided you weren't worth the effort. They're only chasing you now because you're no longer available. They don't want the real, messy, committed version of you. They just want the comfort of knowing you're still waiting around for them, so they don't have to feel like the idiot who threw away something perfect. But you don't have to give them that comfort. You don't have to be their backup plan. You don't have to be the person who makes them feel better about all their bad choices. Right now, they're sitting alone in their empty apartment, staring at your contact name on their phone, and they're realizing it. They messed up. They messed up so bad. And you're never coming back. That feeling, it's 1,000 times worse than any hurt they ever made you feel. That's their karma. Not some big, dramatic disaster where they lose their job or get in a car accident. Just the quiet, constant, gnawing regret that they let the best thing that ever happened to them walk away, and there's nothing they can do to get it back. They get to live with that for the rest of their life. They get to carry that weight around with them every single day for as long as they live. And you get to walk away. You get to keep building that beautiful, bright life you've created for yourself. You get to meet someone new, someone who's brave enough to love you fully, someone who will never make you feel like you're too much, someone who will never, ever take you for granted. That's the real win, Virgo. You didn't lose anything when they rejected you. You gained the chance to find someone who actually deserves you, and they lost the only good thing they ever had. That's the balance. That's the justice. You don't even have to do anything to make it happen. It's already unfolding right now, in real time. They're suffering. You're thriving. And that's all that matters.